What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Wednesday Night Rants. I, of course, am Edward Rouse, and what a night we have. We're just going straight fantasy football. It is that time of year. We are getting right into it. Fantasy football is upon us. We're only a few weeks away from the start of the season. So this is our fantasy football extravaganza with, of course, Anthony Zaragoza, my third-hand man. Me being my first and second hand, of course. But hey, we have a lot to talk about tonight. I know last week we missed. Listen, a lot going on. Got the newborn, of course. Right? Got the newborn now. Wife's back at work, so I'm watching the newborn, working during the day. Fantasy football, biggest time of the year. A lot going on. I'm getting cut up like Swiss cheese with this all melanoma business as well. So a lot going on in my life. So if I miss a Wednesday, I apologize, but I wouldn't miss tonight, not 2 weeks in a row. No, not when football is upon us, people. Football is here. Fantasy football drafts going down. I'm in a ton of drafts, a ton of messages, message boards, notifications going off. By 10 a.m., 10 a.m. in the morning, not p.m., 10 a.m., my phone is already at 20%. Yeah, by 10 a.m. It's crazy how much is going on. Shout out to this Sleeper app too, by the way, a new fantasy football app you can play on Sleeper. I'm in a league with some Twitter experts on that, and it's awesome. That app is incredible. The drafting experience is wonderful. Everything about it is great. I love it. So shout out to Sleeper HQ at Sleeper HQ app. Check it out. It's pretty cool. Just try a draft on it and see if you like it. I'm in one with Anthony. We'll talk about it. It's amazing technology. And I really enjoy it. So hopefully more like that happens in stuff like my fantasy league, which I love. Can get on board with that. And as we get more technological advanced going forward, everyone will be able to be on the same page, and we all have apps that work on our phone, which makes life easier when you have a newborn and are going through phases like I am currently at the time. So, without any further ado, we're going to bring on Anthony Zaragoza. We're just going to, you know what, really tonight, I'm not going to talk about the Chris Sale injury. I'm not going to talk about baseball. We'll get more into baseball as the playoffs start winding down, the wild card situation. We're not going to talk about hockey starting up soon. We're not going to talk about the NBA because nothing's going on. DeMarcus Cousins. Lakers fans. I believe the great poet Nas once said, "Life's a bitch and then you die. That's why you get high, because you never know when Cousins is going to go." Is that what he said? Something like that. Anyways, congratulations, Lakers fans. You just lost Cousins. And that's about all we're going to talk about NBA. We're going into football, so we're going to bring in Mr. A to the Z, representing the full alphabet, as I say, because it is from A to Z. Huh? Huh? Eh? 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 Ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Zaragoza. What's going on, buddy?
Man, here we are once again, and like you said, the notifications are ringing through the hoop right now. It's nonstop. Yeah,
it's insane. It's, like I said, by 10 a.m., I'm at 20% battery. It's crazy. I can't even keep up. I can't even keep up with these people. I don't know how they do it. And half of them have day jobs where they're working and doing this too. It's like, man, everybody has a take. Everybody, every pick you make, everyone has a take on it. Was it a good pick? Did you reach? Is there a funny GIF involved, or GIF, if you will? It's insane, but it's fun. That's what makes fantasy football fun. That's why I'm here. That's why I do what I do for a living, and that's why I love doing what I do for a living, because it is the greatest time of the year every year. I love it. I mean, I'm in what? 6 drafts already deep. I have about 58 more to go before the season starts. So I'm excited. And now you're excited. So, okay, let's just get this. Let's just bite the elephant in the room right in the neck real quick. Melvin Gordon came out today and said, by the way, why I hate drafting before preseason too, by the way, because I picked him up in the first round in a couple of leagues, including a dynasty league, and the Scott Fish Bowl before this happened. So I'm feeling pretty stupid about that. But I was able to pick up Eckler and Jackson in that league, so at least I got the backup there. Came out today that it looks like it's going to go into the season. Miss a few games. Now, what makes me happy is it's a few games and not looks like it's going to be the whole season. What's your take? And are you just staying away from him in general?
Yeah, I'm just kind of staying away just because I don't know what the difference is versus a couple weeks and getting something done now. Like, I don't know what the leverage on both sides are. I keep hearing that Gordon doesn't have a lot of leverage on his side, so he should be signing soon. But, like, what do you gain from missing 2 weeks? Like, is he going to gain that couple extra million? Like, is there something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about? It doesn't really make sense to me why it'd only be a couple games versus the whole season. But I don't know. That's why, I sit and drink Modelo's all night, and Gordon's training in Los Angeles and Florida. But that's my take. So when I hear a lot of this, I'm kind of staying away. I probably have a little remorse from last year because I drafted Le'Veon Bell in a couple of my big leagues, and I'm just super butthurt. I am. If I hear the word hold, not even hold out, hold, I just run away from that player. I just kind of take him on board just because I don't want to get burned again. I got just clobbered in those leagues with Bell, so I'm staying away. I know you've picked him up in a couple of leagues. I apologize because every week it seems like I keep adding you to another Twitter league that I'm in, but
hey, shout out to everyone in those leagues though. There's some good people I met, so I'm enjoying it.
It's hilarious. Yeah, I think it's a ball, and it's like every time I think, okay, I got an open spot, we need someone else, I know the perfect guy. Let me send him a text real quick.
Bobby Cables. That's it. That's my boy right there.
If I wanted to run through a wall, I'd call Bobby.
Oh, for sure. Shout out to Bobby Cables, everyone. Bobby Cables, shout out to you. Here's where I'm at the Melvin Gordon situation. We just were in a league that we just drafted in over the last couple of days on that sleeper app that we were talking about. It's a dynasty league, and it's a first-year dynasty league. And I picked up Gordon in the 4th round, and I feel pretty good about it because a 4th-round running back, if he doesn't play this year or only plays half the year or gets traded, I think that's a good spot for him. In the 1st round, I'm not touching him. If it's a redraft league, I'm not touching him at all. I want nothing to do with him. There's other value you can get, and what I'm finding is this is one of the deepest running back years I could remember, especially for redraft in the last couple of years when people are getting the likes of Derrick Henry in the 3rd and 4th round, who can end up leading the league in rushing very easily in the offense that he's in. So a dynasty 4th round at best. If in a redraft, I wouldn't even touch him. Let's say he falls to the 5th or 6th, you already have 2 starting running backs. Yeah, he's worth a pickup. But other than that, I wouldn't even touch him with a 6-foot pull. So I've seen kind of the tendencies or some of the things you've been doing. And by the way, not even an 8-foot pull or a 10-foot pull. Just it doesn't matter. The length of the pull, I wouldn't touch him with the pull. How about that?
It's infinite pull?
It's an infinite pull. The pull goes infinitely.
Infinity.
Yeah. At the end of the pull is one of those little infinity logos that you get. But there's no end, so you never see it.
Oh, wow, that's deep, man. That is deep.
Uh-huh.
Jeez,
So,
DMX, calm down. That's your boy, DMX.
By the way, the DMX challenge was trending the other day on Twitter. I got really excited. I was like, oh, what could this be? Is it like who could bark the loudest or what's going like, what is this challenge? It had nothing to do with DMX at all, and I was really upset. I was really sad. I got the Twitter, I saw what it was, and this it wasn't DMX at all. But it excited me for at least 30 seconds. So what trends do you see going, like, for drafting based on a positional standpoint? We've done a 2 or 3 super flex leagues, and one of them quarterbacks didn't go at all. The other one, some homeboy had 3 quarterbacks in the first 3 rounds. He needs to go check himself before he wrecks himself. I'm not going to say any names, but what trends do you see? Let's put Superflex aside. What trends do you see positionally? Are wide receivers benefiting more now? Are running backs as deep as I think they are now? Quarterbacks, are people drafting quarterbacks higher? Tight ends, not as much? What do you see here?
You know what? I think you kind of explained it perfectly. I think for a couple of years, running backs were super thin. It was the top couple, 5 or 6 at the top, and then everything else was just a lottery ticket. You're hoping they hit now. This year, I think because every draft class has produced some pretty stout running backs, the class is full now. So I know you've been really big about getting running backs galore, and then you get those value receivers, and that's worked out for you. I can't do that. I get too excited when I see, Stephon Diggs late in the third or in the fourth sometimes, or my boy who's coming back. He's back at practice. Antonio Brown in the third round. That right there, it's like candy in front of a baby. I can't not pull the trigger when I see those wide receivers there. So what I've been doing, and we kind of talked about it in one of the episodes before, is I'm going wide receiver early, getting my 2 number 1 stout guys, getting some of these younger up-and-coming running backs, the Kerryon Johnsons, the Josh Jacobs, the Derrick Henrys, even Devontae Freeman is going late in the third and fourth. Getting those guys in those next couple rounds, and then coming back and getting those really high upside receivers later on. So that's my strategy. I'm feeling more comfortable when I look at my roster at the end of the draft. It feels better for me. One thing we've learned, you've talked about it before, is if you don't like the player and you're drafting just because you're supposed to, you're probably not going to end up having a good team. So you got to find your strategy that you like. That's what's been working out for me, just because it's hard for me not to get those receivers.
It is. And you know what? I'm actually kind of agree with you on this. Listen, if you don't have the top 3 picks, the big 3, everyone knows the big 3 now. Ezekiel Elliott has held himself out of it. You get it. If you had the 3, you're drafting Kamara, McCaffrey, or Barkley. You have to. If you draft Mahomes in there, Godspeed. But I've seen it done. Or Kelsey too. I'm like, oh my God, cool. Ugh. But after that, I'm seeing, and I've been in a lot of mock drafts, a lot of drafts, running backs are deeper than they have been, where you can get a Devontae Adams, a Michael Thomas, a Nuke, and still end up with a Kerryon Johnson and Derrick Henry tandem, which is very solid. Who are the guys for their team, and it's like you could easily get that. Devonta Freeman, you could throw Devonta Freeman there. He's now the guy. Remember, Tevin Coleman's gone. He's the guy. If he stays healthy, he's actually one of my comeback players of the year that I love. You can actually do that. So the more and more I look at it, if I have that 4th pick, I may take Nuke and come back and get those 2 guys later and solidify that. Normally I wouldn't. But what I've seen so far this year, especially going into the 3rd preseason week, it's a very, very successful strategy in a lot of ways. I know I say it's not how you draft, it's how you finish, but if you're not that top 3, I think you go stud receiver and go back. I've even seen Mixon drop, Delvin Cook drop in the 2nd round, where that could be your number 1, and then go down and get Derrick Henry as your number 2. It works, people. It's working. I'm seeing it. Let people make the mistakes, and you get that ace receiver knowing that running back is deep, because it is.
No, I completely agree. And even if you go, say, wide receiver in the 1st, running back in the 2nd, and wide receiver the next 2 rounds, you're going to still find some really good value in that 5th round. David Montgomery maybe is going to be there. Tariq Cohen.
I love Montgomery. I'm not a fan of Cohen, and they just came out today, actually, and said they're going to limit his workload this season, or it's not going to be as much. They love Montgomery. I love Montgomery. I'm a big fan. Yeah, I got him in a couple of our dynasty leagues. Yeah.
But someone like that there in the 5th round, you got some high upside. You can go wide receiver early and get 3 number 1 stud receivers, get a really good high upside guy like Delvin Cook in the 2nd, and then take a chance in the 5th, and then that's your starting running back wide receivers. That is huge upside plus a solid floor for the receivers, especially in PPR.
Imagine doing this, okay? Let's say you get Devontae Adams in the 1st round, okay?
Oh man!
And then you end up on the way back, you get a Delvin Cook, and then you get a Derrick Henry, right? And then at that point, you could even get a Deshaun Watson in the 4th round, and then get an Allen Robinson in the 5th round, right? So you got 2 ace receivers. I'm high on Allen Robinson this year. And it's still going, and you solidify everything, and then you can get a good flex player after that. Or let's say you lose him, you get a Devonta Freeman in the 4th round, which I've seen. It's crazy. Running back is deeper than I think I have seen it in a long time. So don't fool yourself here. You don't have to actually jump on him that quick. So if you can get a Mixon 5th overall because you're like, oh, I need to get my stud running back. Well, the guy in that 6th spot will get Nuke or get Devontae Adams or Michael Thomas, and he may be sitting pretty because, like you said, Stephon Diggs, Thielen. I've seen Thielen go in the 4th round. Stephon Diggs in the 4th round. I've seen, let's not forget about, by the way, I'm not touching Odell Beckham with that same infinity pull. He's just not on my list. He's not on any of my lists. I don't have him in any leagues. Not touching it. Not in that offense. He was great in an offense where he was the guy. He's not going to be the guy in that offense. There's way too many weapons to spread around. I don't think he's first-round value. Just saying. Odell Beckham is not first-round value as a receiver. Not even second round, in my opinion. 3rd round, maybe. But you got Njoku. You got Landry. You got Chubb. And then you got Hunt coming. You got all these players. They're all going to need to get the ball, and the offense is only on the field for so long. Where when he was in New York, he was the only guy, and he got fed the ball. I just don't think he's going to make 1st or 2nd round value. I'm not a fan this year.
Okay, here we go. Here's the extravaganza. First question, hot take. You're in the late 2nd round, so that means you picked one of the stud running backs.
Okay.
You're at 210, 211, 212, whatever.
Okay.
You got one of those. You got one of the stud running backs. So
okay.
OBJ is there.
Mm-hmm.
You're not pulling the trigger on him.
So let's say I got McCaffrey 2nd overall, and OBJ is there
at 211.
At 211, it would really depend on what happened. But can I get a Cook or a Mixon there?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It just right. Not seeing anything like I would rather have that, because then I'm gonna 3 picks later. It's my turn again, and I can get a Thielen or a Diggs. You know what I mean? I think Diggs and Odell Beckham are pretty much going to be very similar in stats. You can't argue with that. Or even Thielen, who for the first 6 weeks of the season last year was arguably the best receiver in the NFL and fantasy.
Hands down. Oh yeah.
So it's like you can't really justify that without seeing what everyone else does. And you're always going to have those morons. I guarantee you, in a lot of my leagues, people are going to think they're smart and draft Mahomes in the 1st or 2nd round too, and that pushes everyone back a little bit.
There it is.
I love when that happens. I love when someone picks Mahomes or picks Ertz in the 2nd round, or just someone.
Your boy Kittle.
My boy George Kittle. My boy GK. And it pushes everyone back, because then it's like, to me, you always play to everybody else, and always, every time, you have to constantly be looking at everyone else's team and trying to figure out what they're going to do. If this guy already has a quarterback and it comes back to you, and everyone else has a quarterback, don't draft your quarterback then. Get a higher value player. You got to look at everyone else. It's not about you. It's about what everyone else is doing. Let the draft fall to you instead of trying to chase the draft. That's the biggest mistake I see on draft day. I see it all the time. It's people jumping up, making ridiculous trades for Sam Darnold in higher rounds that they shouldn't, where Sam Darnold will be there 2 rounds later. And it's like, you have to let the draft come. You have to let the draft play to you, because each draft is different. Each league is different, because everybody is different. And a lot of people are so worried about their own team and getting the guys that they want. Well, which irritates me when you're in 40 drafts or 10 drafts. Obviously, that's not going to work out for you, that draft. But you'll get that guy in another draft. But you got to, if you want to win as many drafts as possible or as many leagues as possible, you have to play that draft as it comes to you. That's the most important thing I can get you. Of course, also, my saying, it's not how you draft, it's how you finish. So
and I've seen that multiple times. See, I'm a big draft guy. I get so psyched up.
You get so excited. You're like the kid in a candy store. You're like Willy Wonka, like all the kids trying to get the golden ticket. in the candy store.
I'm the
it's
chunky
you.
fat kid who's eating the chocolate out in the waterfall.
Yeah.
Like I'm
You-
just
with the first half an hour of the tour, he's done. He's out.
it's just too much for me. I got overloaded and I'm done. See you later, guys. That's how you gotta roll. No, it's true. I think every league's different. If you're not ready for the curveballs, you're not ready to pivot from your strategy, then you're gonna end up having a really bad team if you don't adjust quickly on these drafts.
Mm-hmm. And here's another thing you have to do too, and I see it all the time. Someone picks up your player 8 picks before it's your turn. 8 picks. Let's say it's round 3 and 3.01 and you got 3.09. Someone picks up the player that you had an eye on. Don't go, oh, that was my pick, because that's 8 picks before that would ever even get to you. So it could have probably been like, come on, immediately let it go and focus on your next plan and what you're going to do, and look at the other 7 teams in front of you. Try to determine what they're going to do and plan on that. Don't dwell on what's already been picked, because that's just one draft. If you're in one league and that's it, then yeah, maybe that sucks. But if you're in 10 leagues, you missed a player in that draft, move on, man. Come on. I'm tired of that was my pick. But dude, how is that your pick? You're not picking for another 10 picks. Like,
that gets you so triggered. I love getting those text messages when we're doing a draft together, and I get that message like, "What's this guy talking about?" Of course, he wanted Mahomes.
Yeah.
Everybody does.
Yeah. When the guy says, "Oh, you got Mahomes. That was my pick." Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Everybody wants Mahomes on their team. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's
it's just
much.
irritating. It drives me crazy. It happens every time. But I laugh at it, though. It's funny. And it's part of the game, everybody. I know there's people probably in my leagues going, oh, he's probably talking shit on him. It's just part of the game. It's all about love and fun. It just makes me laugh a little bit, because it's
no. And
it's
trust me,
funny.
if you think he's making fun of you, you should hear what he talks about me. So trust me, you don't get a fraction of the hate.
That's true. You did say that Jay Ajayi would have more fantasy points than Sonny Michel last year.
Let's not bring up the. Can you imagine that? Literally a year ago, that is something that I was full steam ahead. I was on the Jay Ajayi just bandwagon, and you said, Anthony, what the are you talking about?
I did.
It wasn't even close.
It wasn't even close. Well, the injury did not help, to be honest. And now, if you look at it this year, Jay Ajayi's not even on a team.
He
for one,
won't even be on a team.
And 2, Sonny Michel is being looked at as maybe the 3rd or 4th option on his team, with a lot of hype about Damian Harris and Rex Burkhead being healthy, which won't last more than a snap, and James White, of course. So there's still a lot of that there with him. So, which is crazy to think about after everything that transpired after that. But that's fantasy football, man. That's love. That's the love. And by the way, if anyone saw Garoppolo's line the other night in his preseason game, it was literally 1 for 6 for 0 yards and an interception with a quarterback rating of 0. If he could have minus, which you can't, unfortunately, he would. So, just saying, George Kittle fans.
There's hope for there.
There's hope for there.
There's hope for there.
If someone marries me,
Interesting defense
there's
pick.
hope for there.
Oh, yes. And by the way, that's going down next Friday night. And few comments from people saying, why aren't we doing it on Wednesday? It's when the show is. That's because Anthony's so excited about drafting, he needs that day of recovery or 2.
Big time.
Yeah. As it's going down, we are doing it live. We're not all going to be in the same spot. We're going to be doing it a little bit different this year, but we'll all be on the screen. You'll see our faces. We're just going to be in different locations. Anthony's going to work on his background, or not. Maybe
I'm going to draft on my toilet.
He's going to draft from his bathroom.
That's where I think my best.
Yeah. I think he should. I think that'd be pretty funny, just him on his throne.
Sarah would never forgive me. She's like, what is wrong with you? Get out of here.
Oh man, that would be fun. Divorce is possible after a draft in the Anthony Zaragoza world.
Especially when it's recorded and everything that I say comes back a year later. Yeah, I'm just glad it wasn't worse than that, to be honest.
If someone marries me,
interesting defense.
There's
pick.
hope for there.
There's hope for there. Yes. So moving on, let's talk about some more draft stuff and some more things we've seen in some players. Let's talk about some rookie running backs, because this was supposed to be a week rookie draft actually for fantasy. What's turned out to what people said was a weak fantasy draft for rookies, at least this year. That's turned out to be a relatively strong one, believe it or not, with all the injuries and a lot of who say and they say. A lot of good receivers I like, and running backs galore this year suddenly with the likes. What's some running backs that aren't named Miles Sanders and David Montgomery that you're looking at in your drafts later on in the rounds that could benefit you not just in Dynasty, but how about in a redraft?
I think you mentioned him, and I hate to jump on that train because Sonny Michel burned me last year on that dang bet. But Damon Harris, he's had a strong preseason. He looks smooth out there. All the reports coming out of New England is they love him in that position. Look, Sonny Michel looks like he's still going to get a lot of touches, so I think he'll be there if he's healthy. But we know in this Patriots office, it's what have you done for me lately? If Harris is running the ball and he looks strong, you're talking about a guy who, maybe a week ago was going undrafted to you could probably get him late in your drafts and just stash him and sit on him, because even if Sonny's healthy, that's a goal line back. And we've seen LeGarrette Blount, some of these other no-name running backs at the time, come in and score a lot of touchdowns in that limited role. So Damon Harris is a guy that I'm keeping my radar on. I'm wondering where he's going to end up in some of these redrafts that's coming up. But like you said, and that's a guy who, when he was drafted in May, everybody thought, oh, he's done. Like, he has no value. And since then and now has shot up.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you there. Another one I like is Madison today for the Vikings. They came out and said how much they like him. Now you do have, obviously you have Cook there with him as a. If you draft Cook, you must handcuff with Madison. But now what it's going to do is I'm getting hit up here. What you're going to do is you're going to have to pay a bet. You have to pay up for him pretty much. He's not going to cost you maybe your last 3 picks. He's going to be an 8th or 9th rounder. But you must get him if you get Dalvin Cook, because that's an immediate plug and play. Someone else I like is Devin Singletary. Ooh. I've been getting him in almost every league. Listen, they like him there a lot. He's very versatile. He catches the ball out of the backfield. He is LaShawn McCoy without being hurt and over 30 years old. Frank Gore is the other guy they got there. I mean, come on. Eventually, Frank Gore has to hit a wall. A proverbial wall, if you will. But, I mean, he is going to be the man probably by the end of the season. I like getting Devin Singletary as my 4th running back, which I've been in almost every league. And Dynasty leagues galore, I have him as well. Actually, I think I have him in every league I've drafted in so far. I'm all in on Devin Singletary, and you should too. What do you think about him?
No, I'm big. He's already been taking first-team snaps in preseason. He's working a lot in. Like you said, he's the only running back on that team that's under 30. So long-term wise, if you have him in Dynasty, especially if you have taxi spots on your Dynasty league, taking him, and if you have to stash him in there for the year, next year, imagine once finally 40-year-old Frank Gore retires, LaShawn McCoy, either gets traded or even if he's still in town, the amount of work Singletary is going to start getting week by week, it's going to be immense. So getting him, I think you've gotten him in like 8th, 9th, 10th round in some of these Dynasty leagues. You're talking about a guy who, last year everybody thought Nick Chubb was going to get stuck behind Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson. And look at him now, a year later. The talent will always prevail. Even in some bad situations, the talent and the snaps that they take. And look at him now. Chubb's going, first, second round in Dynasty drafts.
Yeah, he's a guy you definitely want to target, which not a lot of people are. I even like him better than Justice Hill. I like him better than Justice Hill there because they rotate so many backs in that backfield in Baltimore. Like, look at over the last 6 years how many backs they've gone through. Buffalo, not so much. They want the guy. He's the guy. He's going to be the guy, and he's the guy you can get lower. Especially even in redraft leagues, he may be of value, at least a stash for a few weeks, because LaShawn McCoy is going to get hurt. Or I've seen some reports or some that he may be DFA'd straight up before the season even starts.
No.
Some people saying it's possible. So there's that too. So there you go. Breaking news. Well, not really breaking news, but I've heard reports from my sources. Would it be in the NBA free agency season here? No, but that it's a possibility, and he hasn't looked too good in practices, and they got Frank Gore there, and why not give this guy a chance? They waste the draft pick on him. And you know what? Why not? The Buffalo Bills have nothing to lose at this point. So
Well, they're so young and so just brand new. They have so many guys that can end up being the guy. So getting a guy like Singletary in an offense that they want to run with Josh Allen, like it just makes sense to take a chance on him versus getting an older veteran running back for some team that probably won't be relevant in a year.
yeah.
Like, shoot your shot. Go out
There you
there
go.
and shoot your shot.
There you go. I like it. Let's talk about just some players in general. Everyone knows the first couple rounds. We've already talked about some strategies. If you don't have the top three, how maybe beneficial those wide receivers in the first round may be, which I'm normally not a fan of, and this year I am. I'm just giving away my draft strategies, aren't I? Ugh. What are some receivers, wide receivers? We talk about how you can always get receivers. They come out of nowhere. Let's talk about like 8th or 9th round receivers that you like, that people are not paying attention to. They could potentially be.
And I think this is where we're going to differ because I know you kind of have a different strategy. But guys I've seen go and redraft in that 8th, 9th round-ish that I'm liking, first thing that comes to my mind, Sterling Shepard. Moving in that role, brand new deal, 4-year deal. It almost reminds me similar to like Tyler Lockett last season. Seahawks locked him up for 4 years. Obviously, the whole Doug Baldwin situation really prompted up his situation in Seattle, but you got a guy like Sterling Shepard who's been productive without Odell when he missed games there. He's going to be almost like the de facto number one. Golden Tate's going to be out the first 4 weeks. He's going to be in an offense where I think he's going to get targets galore. And when you're talking about that 8th, 9th round where people who say maybe didn't get running backs early on start to get some of these some veteran guys, Sterling Shepard there in that position as a bench and possibly flex guy, I like him there. The value is huge, and I like Sterling Shepard in that spot.
I like that. I actually like him. I know he's a little injured right now, right?
Yeah,
he should be good.
That's the thing. I think that's the reason why I like him even more now because he had that whole broken finger thing. He's come back. He's in practice. He's practicing without the non-contact jersey. So he's getting towards week 1 like he's ready to go.
All right.
So people might be kind of off of him because of that. So his value is even now better than it was before.
Here's mine, man, and I really like this pick this year. I love it. I didn't get him in the league that we just drafted in, which kind of irritated me. I don't know. You may have got him, actually. I'm not sure. But he's actually being drafted as the 3rd receiver on his own team, and I think he actually could easily be the 2nd, and he's going to fill that Randall Cobb role that is now gone. And I like some Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Oh,
Really love it. Like as a 3rd receiver option, Geronimo Allison to me is like a not as good Devontae Adams. So it's like you already have Devontae Adams, you have Geronimo Allison who's like a not as good Devontae Adams, and then you have Marquez Valdez-Scantling who is Randall Cobb. How did it work out when Randall Cobb was not hurt in that spot? He easily plays that role. I like it. He's being drafted way too low in my opinion. He could easily get over 60 receptions this year as a 3rd receiver, a couple touchdowns. He could be the guy that is when they double team Devontae, he's there in the slot. Not a lot of people talking about him and people talking about Geronimo Allison, but I'd rather have Scantling at this point, wouldn't you?
and you're probably getting him 1 to 2 rounds later, and the value is almost exactly the same. And from reports coming out of Green Bay, he's making electric plays in practice, which I take more practice value versus preseason games because the preseason games these guys are running.
I do too.
Yeah. So when I hear stuff like that from the beat writers there, so yeah, getting him going 10th, 11th round, and if you got the number 2 receiver in that offense with Rodgers, like that's what I'm saying. Like people get lost with some of the names, these veteran guys that have maybe been around for a while, and you lose out on some of these guys who are like the de facto number 2 receivers. I did that last year when I went and got Tyler Lockett. I got, I think you were super big on Calvin Ridley. I remember last year, and he was the number 2 there.
Yep.
So you forget these number 2 receivers in these high potent offenses just because they're like brand new or you haven't really heard about them or they haven't really produced much. But if you take that chance in those later rounds, what do you lose if they don't hit? That's your first guy you drop when you pick somebody.
Well, just think of it though. Look at the history of it. Galladay was a number 2. Now he's number 1. Now you got Scantling this year. Tyler Boyd. Look at the history of these guys that constantly, because they get more open because they double team these number ones, and somehow these guys just come through in the clutch. Tyler Boyd was huge last year for that same reason, and plus you got an injury prone on that. Well, Marvin Jones, he was a beast for like the first 4 weeks. People started to figure him out. Now Galladay kind of came through. It could be Marquez Valdez-Scantling's year to do the same type of thing. Yes, Allison was decent for the first half of the season until he got hurt. By the way, he had some injury problems towards the end of the season, but he's Randall Cobb. He's exactly the same type of mold as Randall Cobb in that offense. And when Randall Cobb was healthy, he was a 5th round pick, maybe even higher a few years when he was at his peak. So I'd say, hey, look at the history and take chances on the number 2s, because they could end up being the number 1s. Snap of the finger, right, DMX? Yeah.
That was impressive. I like the way that you snapped your fingers right there.
You like, yeah.
Look at that.
Whew.
Drop of the dime.
Drop of the dime. Well, we're running a little late, but you know what? It's the fantasy football extravaganza, and I don't get anywhere to be for 10 minutes. So we talked about receivers. We talked about some running backs we like. Not really some running backs. Let's talk about some running backs that aren't rookies real quick. Just quickly that we like, that could be 5th round, 6th round or less, that aren't rookies, that you like, that could potentially be a good flex option for you or a backup, if you will, on your teams. Who you like in there?
See, not rookie, and I think because of the whole injury thing, and I kind of slept on him, but Philip Lindsay is going in that 5th, 6th round right now, and he kind of broke down towards the end of the season. Royce Freeman got all the hype going into the season. Lindsay was versatile, caught the ball, ran the ball. I think if all reports hold true with him being healthy, you're talking about a guy who, with Joe Flacco, and that's Joe Flacco, quarterback in the Broncos now, they're going to run the ball a lot. Even if Freeman does start to eat up into his carries, you're talking about a guy who can get upwards of 200 to 225 touches total, catches and rushes, in the 5th, 6th round. And when guys are reaching, for maybe some like these rookie running backs, even though I don't want to hate on my boy Josh Jacobs because I love him, but Josh Jacobs going in the 4th round, you can maybe wait around and get Lindsay, who is a little more stable, who's proven in an offense that he's going to be successful in.
I like that. I like Lindsay. I actually picked him up in a league as well around that time. Another guy I like now is Duke Johnson. Jr. Man. I love his situation. Listen, Lamar Miller, yeah, he's ended up being top 20 running back or top 10 running back a few of the years. He has injury problems. They're not in love with him. In a high prolific offense like he is now, he may end up being, if Lamar Miller gets hurt, Duke Johnson's going to get a full array of touches, and you can get him, I'm talking 9th, 10th round. And he could easily put in 4th round value. I love the situation Duke Johnson is. The only other running backs they have there is Karen Higdon and some other guy I've never heard of that weren't even drafted. So Duke Johnson is a guy I'm targeting now. I missed out on him on the one we're in, but trust me, when I have my 58 drafts coming up in the next couple of weeks, I'm targeting Duke Johnson Jr. DJJ. I'm targeting Duke Johnson Jr. in those leagues. I love him as a late round pick. So, you still with me? Did we lose you?
Yeah, no, I had to open a beer.
Oh, okay. Wait about Duke Johnson real quick before we move on.
No, I think that's huge, and especially now, we had his first day in practice today. A lot of guys forget when Duke Johnson started, those couple games with the Browns. Like, he is super talented. He's not only just that 3rd down back that just catches out of the backfield. Like, he's a guy who could push Lamar Miller for touches going forward. So you're talking about a guy who can get in double-digit rounds that now has a guy who he can overtake at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Like, that's a huge, huge upside right there.
I agree. I like myself so that, especially as like you can even pick him up as like a flex player. He's a perfect flex player candidate for your team.
In PPR, oh yeah,
definitely. I love it where he's going right now, and it's only going to get higher as we move on. Trust me. Tight ends. We talked about the elite tight ends. You got Ertz, You got Kelsey. You got Ertz and Kelsey. You got some other guy. I don't remember his name. What's his name?
I think it rhymes with Skittles.
Oh, yeah. TJ Hawkinson. Yeah. That's it.
That's who rhymes with Skittles.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
Let's talk about some. If you let those guys just get and you get your receivers and get your running backs like we like to do, what are some tight ends maybe in the later rounds, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th rounds that you like that could eventually fill a void for that? O.J. Howard is Justin Watson is here. Hello, Justin. O.J. Howard is considered in between elite and where we're talking about right now. He is obviously in the Ingram and Njoku category there. We're talking about like deep who you could get to be your starter that could surprise.
No, Justin's going to draft every Buccaneer in our league. Watch.
Godwin.
He's going to do it.
O.J. Howard, Mike Evans, and Ronald Jones Jr.
Chris Godwin. Like the hype on Godwin, I already know he's going to get him early. He's going to pull the trigger on him and do it.
And not even in a dynasty league. But that's what he does. Kudos to him. We love him.
Get your guys, man.
Get your guys. That's what I say. Get your guys. Not how you draft, how you finish, man. Who you like? Tight ends. Who you like?
So tight end, and I liked him last year, and he played really well. I think he's going to be in an offense still that has a lot of mouths to feed, but I love Matt Ryan, the way he dishes the ball out. So Austin Hooper is a guy who's like in a lot of the rankings, low end, tight end 1, 10th, 11th, 12th guy off the board. Just the floor on him, like he's going to be safe. He's not going to lose you any weeks waiting on him. And for a guy who's been healthy, who's really young still, I think a lot of people forget how young Hooper is. So getting him in the later rounds, I think is huge value. A guy that's getting a lot of hype and he's moving up, so he might be out of my board by the time next week and 2 weeks comes along. But Vance McDonald, with all those targets gone now. Yeah. Antonio Brown, obviously with the better team now on the West Coast. Vance, there's a lot of uncertainty with that number 2 role in Pittsburgh now. Behind Juju and Vance McDonald, I think where you're getting him right now, like I said, the hype on him is growing, but where you're getting him towards that 9th, 10th, 11th tight end, like that's huge value.
No, I'm with you there.
I'm eating up right now.
I'm with you there, and with having him along with what was his name? Who went over to Detroit, the other tight end that they had there, which kind of split up the mouths to feed in Pittsburgh. What was his name? I can't think of his name right now.
Oh, my gosh. I'm going to beat myself up.
Me too.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. But regardless, yeah. So, no, Jesse James. So, there it is. Jesse James.
There it is.
So, you had that there. So, I like that. I'm not sleeping on Trey Burton. Remember, he was a high pick last year. Everyone thought he was going to be a huge asset. He still can be in the same offense. He still produced tight end 1 type numbers, lower tight end 1 numbers, but we're talking about everyone 12 team leagues. He was, he's producing enough to be a starter on your team. Some other like lower end tight ends I'm kind of looking at. Well, Hunter Henry, of course, right? You can't say no to Hunter Henry. But a tight end, you got your Njokus and your Hunter Henry, who should be in a good spot. The rookies, you got Fant and Hawkinson, Irv Smith. Rudolph's kind of being drafted really low too in a tight end situation there. And this is a guy who was a red zone beast when he was healthy just 2 years ago. Could easily put up those type of numbers again. Tight end is not as shallow as it used to be. It's just not. It's a lot deeper than it used to be. Teams are drafting better tight ends. A lot of players coming up realize that if they can't make it at receiver, they have a better chance of making it at tight end. So they're playing tight end in college and really coming through in that direction as well. So you see a lot of these type of players, like an Evan Ingram, for example, really producing in the NFL level. So tight end really isn't as deep as it used to be. And how about Andrews over in Baltimore?
Mark Andrews, the hype. You want to talk about hype meter right now.
Yeah.
Every other day it's about what Lamar Jackson threw and what Mark Andrews caught. in that offense.
There you go. They have no one else there in that passing offense, you know. So there you go. So yeah, tight ends are being drafted higher this year in years past. True or false, Justin Watson? No, because there's every year for the last, as far as I can remember, Gronk has been drafted in the first round, and now Kelsey is kind of an iffy first or second rounder. I think tight ends are not being drafted. I think tight ends are just deeper, so people are actually waiting more than they used to on tight ends. So I think false on that one. With that being said, defenses and kickers we're not going to get into. Play at your own risk. I like to stream my defenses, and I play kickers as I see offenses. Get your favorite offense, choose their kicker. If you want to waste your pick 3 rounds before, you can get the kicker for the Rams, Zerloin steak. Greg Zerlin, whatever his name is, and you'll be okay there. I prefer to just wait and get my kicker last or second to last. I know, Anthony, you feel the same. So,
oh, you know it.
Quarterbacks, real quick. Everyone's going to have their quarterbacks. Breeze and Brady for redraft are still being taken way too low. You can wait and get Breeze crazy high. Guaranteed 30 touchdown passes there. Love it. What's a quarterback that maybe you're thinking, especially in a super flex or 2 quarterback league, that you like as your third quarterback, or in a redraft league as a backup that could potentially be starter material?
Someone I'm targeting, because I've been getting all over my dynasty and even redraft as even like my QB1, and I'm waiting because he's all the way down in the 20s as far as QBs. Kirk Cousins.
Wow, yeah. It's crazy.
I'm on the Kirk Cousins train. I feel like there was so much hype going into that first year in Minnesota, and for some reason people thought that he underperformed, and for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe that just he didn't live up to that hype because of those seasons in Washington. But you're talking about a guy who still had 4,300 yards, 27 touchdowns, and he still has all his weapons plus Dalvin Cook back.
Yeah,
I don't know why someone would not want Kirk Cousins at this point. And you're talking about he's going after, Mitch Trubisky and like even someone that I like in Dynasty, Josh Allen, who you talked about earlier. Like him there, the floor, and I've been talking about this whole episode, the floor on Kirk Cousins, he's a safe pick. He is going to produce. Just like a Matthew Stafford, Phillip Rivers.
I was going to talk about Stafford, actually. That's who I was going to say. I cannot believe how far Matthew Stafford has fallen. I said this on Table that discussion on the Fantasy Alarm Network as well about the same thing. I can't believe how far Matthew Stafford has fallen. We're talking about a guy over 4,000 yards, 5 straight years. He's been an Iron Man. He had his injury history early. He's played every game. He played through a back injury last year. Yes, he had an off year. One bad year puts him down to the cellar where he's getting drafted next to Dwayne Haskins and Marcus Mariota. Are you kidding me? Matthew Stafford deserves to be a lot higher than that, and I have no problem taking him as my number 2, which I have been in almost every league. I saw you drafted him as your number 2 as well in the league recently. Come on, man. He's not the 28th, 27th ranked quarterback in fantasy. That is insane, people. Insane. I don't know what you're doing. Apparently you don't either.
And he didn't miss a game last year.
No, with the broken back.
Miss anything with the bad back. So imagine healthy now, coming back in. I just, yeah. You know what? Sometimes these rookie quarterbacks come in the league, or these young guys, the Sam Darnolds, the Kyler Murrays, they deserve the hype because they're young and electric. But don't forget the boring older guys.
Mm-hmm. Phillip Rivers over 27 touchdown passes every year in his career.
And he gets Hunter Henry back.
Yep.
What more? I don't know. When I see that on my list, and I see some of these younger quarterbacks who, yeah, they might have had a pretty good year last year, but are younger, going in the 6th, 7th round, and I can get a Kirk Cousins or Matthew Stafford in double digits. That's just a no-brainer to me. I don't know. I think that's just slam dunk every time.
Me too. Okay, before we go, one bold prediction this year on fantasy that no one else will take on. What do you got?
Oh man. Well, I'm gonna stay on it because I know you love talking about his feet and his helmet, but Antonio Brown will still be a top 5 wide receiver.
Wow, I like that. And mine is Deshaun Watson will score more fantasy points than Patrick Mahomes.
Well, something about Patrick Mahomes, huh? You're always going to have something.
I'm just saying, Deshaun Watson will score more fantasy points than Patrick Mahomes. Yes. Put it on the board. We'll see if I'm right. I think with the rushing, with the weapons he has and everything, he'll have, with Duke Johnson now, Deshaun Watson more points than Patrick Mahomes. Deshaun Watson is my overall number 1 quarterback on my draft board. By the way, just so you know. I know that's not a big stretch or anything, but over Mahomes. I'd rather have him over Mahomes. So.
I can't disagree with you because I make bets with you that I always lose. So at this point, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut and say I believe you.
But AB is a top 5 receiver. I have to disagree with that. I will say top 10. I'll give you that. Top 10. Top 5, when you got Nuke, when you got Devontae Adams and Michael Thomas, Stephon Diggs out there, T.Y. Hilton, Juju Smith-Schuster, who had better stats than him last year.
Are you watching Hard Knocks right now? Do you see that man work? Are you seeing that man put in work right now?
Do you want to go there?
Hey, okay, I'm telling you, I try to leave my fanhood off the show, but sometimes it's just like we're getting close to week 1. AB 84, outside of this, what everybody's calling drama, he's never hit a female. He doesn't abuse his children. He doesn't get in trouble with the law. Like the drama that he's causing versus what other football players do, you'd think he would have killed somebody with all the news about him. Like there's a point where, yes, he had issues with the Steelers last year. He had the most receiving touchdowns. Obviously, Derek Carr's a downgrade when you're talking about Ben, but the amount of targets he's gonna get, it's gonna be top 5, man. And when you can get him, and that's just my Raider.
Well, you know what? Hey, I hope we're both right. I hope that Deshaun Watson has more fantasy points than Patrick Mahomes, and I hope that AB is a top 5 receiver. And we're both right. And if we're both right, then we'll buy each other a beer. How about that?
We'll just buy beer each other, no matter what. But still, I like it.
All right, buddy. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight in this fantasy football extravaganza. We really just wanted to come on, just talk fantasy football and see where it goes. I had no idea where it was going to go. It went there. I think we had a lot of good insight you guys can learn from, agree, disagree, whatever you want to do. I really don't care. Anthony, thank you for joining us. You want to plug anything real quick?
No, just make sure you guys keep following us on Twitter. A lot of good info. We're in a lot of drafts together, so we'll be dropping a lot of insight. Mm-hmm. And keep checking in the show. That draft special is going to be phenomenal. Yeah, even if you don't even care about football, the dumb things that I will say is worth the admission.
Yeah, so we're going to have a quick show on Wednesday night, and then that show will be on Friday night, next Friday night at 7 o'clock p.m. on the same channel as you guys watch Wednesday Night Rants on. It's going to be the live draft show. We still got 2 spots left. I'm letting anyone, 2 spots left. If you want them, first come, first serve. It's the first time we finally got 10 spots from everyone that was in it last year, friends and family. 2 spots left. Listeners and watchers of the show, Bobby Cables, Anthony Zaragoza, myself, Josh Stanhill, Justin Watson, and friends and family of the show, join us as we make a mockery of fantasy football drafting like we do every year live. Thank you, Anthony. I am Edward Rouse at Edward Rouse. Thank you for joining me once again. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We'll see you next Wednesday before our big draft night next Friday. And you can always follow me on Twitter at Edward Rouse and on Facebook and on YouTube and wherever else. I'm the only Edward Rouse in the world, so just Google me. You'll find me. So enjoy your weeks, everybody. Preseason week 3 starts tomorrow. We get a better look at a lot of the starting quarterbacks and how offenses may be going into it, so I'm pretty excited. So we'll see you next week, and always remember to spay and neuter your pets, people.